Peace. What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Brother Phil, Soul of a Nerd. Back today, sponsored by Boathouse Farms, Superfood. See, look at this. I'm fired already. Superfood Immunity Boost Juice. Delicious and good for you. Um, if you got an Aldi in your town or local area, Aldi grocery store, they sell it there for about $5. It's got elderberry, cranberries, echinacea, and zinc. Good stuff. And at this time of age of era that we're living in, where people are being encouraged to take vaccines and other stuff, I say go natural with good old fashioned fruits, vegetables, herbs, vitamins, and things of that nature. So, anyway, welcome back, and I'm glad to be here because here we are, March 21st, and I am here to let's talk about that long awaited for many of us Justice League by Zack Snyder, the true Justice League movie by Zack Snyder, the Zack Snyder Cut. I did a preview video that I posted on Friday, I believe, 2 days ago. So here's my review after watching it. And let me start by saying, let me get this out of the way. The sucker was too long. It took me 3 days to watch it. Started it, I believe, Friday night. Watched some Saturday, and then finished it later on Saturday. No, because it dropped on Thursday, so that was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday that it took me to finish this thing. So let's just quick statement. Let's just put it out there. I may refer back to it, but I think it's a simple statement of opinion, but I think it's important to be noted that I think this movie was too long. 4 hours was too much. That being said, let's get into it. And these are spoilers, but I mean, there really isn't a whole lot that I would say in this here video, just because it's me by myself. I think this movie, which is a credit to it, I think it creates a lot of dialogue that I can't have by myself. So I could really talk probably for hours about this movie, just because there's so many things when it comes to comparing it. It's inevitable, and rightfully so. What are you going to do? You can't help but to compare it to the theatrical release. That kind of is the point, and going back to my preview video, there were some points I made that I was looking for, and this is a credit to the movie that it basically fulfilled the things I was looking for, like spot on. One was just being able to see Zack Snyder's full vision, and that means whether it was 4 hours or not. So, because again, I wanted to critique it based on that, and so I feel better saying, "Hey, this movie was 4 hours," but to me, it didn't need to be no 4 hours. It could have been 3. I think there are definitely some scenes in here he could have trimmed down or eliminated or whatever, so that it could have been about even 3.5 hours. But 4 was long. So definitely would have had a hard time with this in the theater. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think it's cool to sit in a theater for 4 hours. I hear I've seen a lot of people saying that, hey, 4 was fine, bring on more, so on and so forth. That's because you were watching at home. Unless you were just such a massive Zack Snyder or DC fan and nerd that you're okay with that. Me, nah, 4 hours is too long. Like I said, it would have been agonizing to be in a theater for that long. At home, it's cool because look at what I did. Broke it up over 3 days. That being said, being able to see his vision all the way through, I'm satisfied with it because I feel like this dude got to flesh out everything he wanted to, and that's part of the problem, which I'm going to get into again, is that he got to flesh his whole vision out for this movie. So it's like a good and a bad, but ultimately it's good in that, hey, do what you got to do so I can judge it on your fulfilled vision and not be realizing I'm trying to judge something that's half-assed in terms of its final product or intended outcome. The other thing I wanted to see more of was I wanted to see a better rendition of Superman. I wanted to see a better rendition of Steppenwolf. And man, did they come through on Steppenwolf. I don't know what it is, but he seemed way more formidable and impressive as a villain. And that's not even to say that he wasn't. Like the first half of the movie, he of the 2017 movie, and I'm doing this off the top of my head, recollection of that movie, because realistically, I haven't watched that movie since I left the theater, November, whatever that was, 18th or 19th, 2017. Don't own it. Don't ever plan on owning it. Although, being that it's on HBO Max, I've added it to my watch list and I'm going to go back and watch it. But, there was a time where I said I was going to buy it just for the, I guess, the commemorative collector's item, you know what I mean, factor of just, hey, this was the movie where we saw the Justice League for the first time. Of course, not knowing that with no hope that we'd ever see the real version that not Joss Whedon, that Zack Snyder intended. So that time, but I never got around to buying it. Yeah, I don't know. It's up in the air. I might buy it just like I said as a collector because I still like physical media. What I would love for them to do is release this on a DVD. If they were to release this, I would let the theatrical release be the one that's just there on streaming to watch whenever, and then I would own a hard copy of Zack Snyder's version. That's what I would do. But yeah. But going off of my recollection of Steppenwolf in that movie, he was, there was, especially towards the end, he started to seem like just kind of lame. Um, Ironically, I can see. Well, I'm not gonna say ironically because why does it have to be ironic? Like, there's nothing wrong with saying some good things about what happened in the theatrical release, but I can actually see where Warner Brothers, whoever, executives, Joss Whedon, whoever, wanted to redesign Steppenwolf's look because, well, it's like a catch-22. I think they wanted him to look more human, clearly, in that movie versus what Zack Snyder had designed, which he's very beastly. I mean, like seriously, look at like the way it's a contrast. It's like a night and day contrast, really. He looks like an alien in the theatrical release. He looks like a beast, like an alien creature, like a monster in the Snyder version. So to me, and then again, like it's weird for me. People always refer to their comic book reference for these movies and stuff, whether it's DC or Marvel or Hellboy or whatever. For me though, it's always back to the cartoons or the toys, action figures, and I have a Steppenwolf action figure still somewhere. When DC was making those Super Friends or Superpowers, they were called the Superpowers action figures in the mid '80s. Well, early to mid '80s, and that Steppenwolf was not alien looking at all. I mean, he didn't look like either one of the movie versions. So even when I saw the theatrical release, I was like, man, I wanted him to look like the toy that I knew of. Where like the toy version of Steppenwolf was more like he looked like a medieval, like apocalyptic executioner type of person. Like he literally had a goatee and he was wearing red and black and had an axe. So he had that axe, had spikes on his shoulder. So he was almost like a. He reminded me of the Road Warriors, the wrestling team. So where that design comes from, I don't know. I'm not an expert on this stuff, but that's what I grew up with. So me personally would have preferred to see that look on him just in general. But being that these are beings from somewhere else, I have no problem with them just going with maybe that's more comic accurate or whatever the case may be. But he was definitely more of a beastly creature with the flattened nose and the jagged like daggered saw looking teeth. The way his legs were like walking, and he had like what do you call them, talons, almost, claws almost. So it was a creepier and I guess a little more menacing look to him because he looked more like I said, a demonic. How we want to depict demons, like we really know whether they have tails and horns and things like that. But this is this goes a little into Zack Snyder, and you get to read a little bit into his. I don't know if he's like a professed Christian or whatever the case may be, but he seems to like to be very biblical or religious, I guess would be the better way to say it, because this is a whole other topic. But soul of a nerd, Phil Deeper, brother Phil. I have multiple aliases. I like to merge all these topics when I sometimes. And religion in the Bible are two different things. Spirituality and religion are two different things. Christianity and spirituality are two different things. Christianity and the Bible are two different things. But anyway, point is, he likes to be religious with his, like, a lot of religious tones and themes. It seems, because he definitely did that with Batman versus Superman. So yeah, so maybe he wanted to go with that traditional demon kind of look with Steppenwolf, and they made it more of a human, like I said, alien but human look in the theatrical release. So my point with that is, if I really were to put them head to head, I kind of prefer the look of the one in the theatrical release, but at the very same time, the CGI sucked in a way. So then I'm back to like, well, I'd rather have a uglier Steppenwolf with better CGI than a less ugly Steppenwolf with bad CGI. So I guess it's like a wash. I just thought I would point that out, though. So more importantly than that is that Steppenwolf as a villain made way more sense, was way more like interesting. That'll be the best way to put it. He was more interesting. Um, given the story of how he's like fallen out of grace with Darkseid, and he's trying to win back his good graces. No, they didn't. They didn't touch on that in the theatrical because Darkseid, I mean, maybe they mentioned him by name, but it was just about him trying to please the mother box or the mother or something in the theatrical release. And it seems stupid as heck, and it seems even dumber now that was his motivation to reunite those boxes. I think he kept saying mother, like he was attempting to contact or gain access or the approval of some higher being, but it was just like so vague and generic. That's like terrible. You know what I mean? When I think back on it, whereas him trying to get good with Darkseid makes way more sense. And especially as people who do know the comics and that Steppenwolf was a minion of Darkseid and cartoons toy. See, I knew that, Desaad, Steppenwolf, Darkseid. What was Darkseid's Calabac with his son, I believe? Yeah. Used to have those action figures. They were dope. Loved them. So, it's like that was much better as far as a story, a plot point or purpose for motivation for Steppenwolf. The battle scenes in this movie, whew, man, they were dope. I got to relive. There were some changes, but again, I can't remember them, scene for scene, shot for shot. but reliving the opening, the first scene of Wonder Woman at the bank, stopping that thing was dope again. I mean, Wonder Woman in Zack Snyder's movies. I've now concluded that Wonder Woman in Zack Snyder's movies was the greater than equal sign. Trumps Wonder Woman in her solo movies now at this point. I think it's safe to say the first Wonder Woman would have kept things competitive, but after Wonder Woman 84, it's like blah. I'll take Zack's Wonder Woman every day. Now, of course, that's a little short-sighted because, I mean, you're just getting her as an action hero, action character in Zack's movies. And I'm admitting that, so I'm not going to act like I don't want more from her than just action. I'm just saying the action that we get from her in Wonder Woman 84 is trash compared to the action we get from Zack Snyder. Let's just put it like that. And obviously, with a third movie, maybe they can get a better balance. That being said, yeah. That scene, the scene where the Amazons are trying to protect the mother box from Steppenwolf. I thought that was one of the dope scenes of the theatrical release. One of the few highlights of that movie, and once again, it was for this another highlight. And it was again, I want to say there was quite a few differences in the scene. I just loved it. It's freaking phenomenal. Just some of the best. It's like a chase scene, I guess. When you think about chase scenes and other types of cop movies and stuff like that. But it's in the superhero genre, action, fantasy type movie. It's up there. I mean, it's just dope. So let's just talk about the things that I really liked. I'm already talking about them, but let me just really push through on these things. Let's start with Superman, since I said Zack Snyder's Vision, Steppenwolf, Superman. Those are things I wanted to see more of, and the other one was Cyborg. So I'll talk about those things first. Superman. See, the thing with Superman is like I can talk about him in terms of reviewing this movie, but there's so much more I want to say about the DC, EU, Zack Snyder, Warner Brothers, whatever you want to call it. Their Henry Cavill Superman is like worthy of a video in and of itself. So I guess I'll stray away from that and save that for another time. So, but it's hard to talk about how I feel about Superman's depiction of how he played out in this movie without talking about the overriding thought that I have about him. I'm gonna try though. So really, clearly, it was a better playing out of Superman. I mean, obviously, the CGI with removing his mustache, the scenes that they did that for, again in retrospect, is so silly. Like, why in the world, Joss Whedon, Warner Brothers, whoever, did y'all need to do that? I guess because the movie was changing its basic premise so much that I guess they felt that would help make up for what they were changing as far as the overall premise of the movie. But I'm just like in the beginning where he was on a video camera. I'm talking about the theatrical release, talking to the kids, and they ask him something like, "What does he love most about people?" or something, whatever it was. And he's talking to them and has that messed up face. That's literally how the movie begins. But it was supposed to create that premise or opening montage to get you in the mood of, oh yeah, we lost a great hero. So I get the point of it, but it wasn't necessary, honestly. Could have been done with the way Zack Snyder already had it. You see what I'm trying to? That's like deliberately a scene that y'all forced into this movie to do to serve the same purpose that Zack Snyder had already served. But I guess because again, Zack Snyder's purpose of it tied into a different tonality and a different directions. It's not, well, yeah, it is a different direction, a different path. How about that? Because both movies go in the same direction, but they take different paths. Um, yeah, so I don't know, but when you see that, it's like, come on, we didn't need that. And I think the other scene where his face is all messed up is partial when he's talking to Lois after he does come back. That stuff wasn't needed because you notice the scenes when he comes back, he goes and talks to Lois and his mother. No CGI. I mean, you almost just like, so what didn't they cover here that they tried to make up for in the theatrical release? And there isn't anything. So that was just a complete. It's terrible to think that all of that disgrace came to them over that bad CGI and all that crap for no reason when they could have just left some of this alone. I mean, obviously they could have left the whole thing alone, except maybe had Zack trim this sucker down. But again, that's a whole other topic as far as Warner Brothers panicking over uh, critical review and over being scared of not being liked. We want to be liked like Marvel, And I'm the biggest MCU head you can find, but don't do that. Don't chase their accolades. You know what I mean? Make your own. Be you and get yours your own way. The the true tried and proven way. Because if that was the case, Marvel could have just tried to make a bunch of movies like Christopher Nolan. You know what I mean? Or they could have just made movies like Bryan Singer and Sam Raimi. Because essentially they were holding down the superhero movie genre. Heck, they even got Bryan Singer from X-Men to do Superman Returns. So think about that. So prior to the MCU, Bryan Singer was the man for superhero movies because he did Marvel and DC movies. And then you have, like I said, Sam Raimi, who was doing the Spider-Man. He did 3 of them. 3. So Marvel Studios didn't try to do what those 2 movies did. If anything, they picked up the mistakes of those 2 franchises, Spider-Man and X-Men, and did their own thing to much success. But we're not here to talk about them. I'm just saying, Warner Brothers DC, that's what you do. You look at what Marvel does and you look at their flaws, because obviously they have some, but or you look at what they do and that you don't want to do, and then you just go ahead and do it, which, Anyway, the black suit, it's a good look. I can kind of see how it's a little bit overhyped, and it looks like Joss Whedon when he said, "And this shit's not necessary." So I don't even blame him for kind of veering away from that, because let's be honest, it was just something visual to be, let the fans know, yeah, this is the comic book, a nod or reference to the comic book where he wears a black suit when he comes back from the dead. Other than that, though, it was cool to see. The point is, I just think it flowed way more smoothly. Let's just nip this in the bud, because I don't really have a lot of good things to say about Superman in this movie. And that's just both ways. Like I said, it's like by design, Superman was not even meant to be he wasn't meant to be a priority in this movie. He served a purpose. Like, he was like basically the Incredible Hulk character in Avengers, in my opinion. But even less less purposeful and less impactful and less developed. So it's not a whole lot to say except that it is better. It's an improvement to me on what we got out of Superman in the other movie. Like the scene where he fights them at the memorial with his statue, the broken statue and all that. It's the same scene basically. Still was dope. I loved it in that movie. Loved it in this version of the movie. I mean, the theatrical versus this. Obviously, you don't get the Batman part of, yeah, something's definitely bleeding and all that stuff. None of that. None of those little semi-comical remarks. But everything else played out pretty much the same, which was dope. Uh, yeah, the way they went about digging him up in the conversation that caused them to go get him was different, much better. It felt way more, I don't know, logical or organic, natural progression. The way they came to the conclusion of trying to dig him up and resurrect him. I'm pretty sure it was a different conversation, and it was based around cyborgs giving them insight into the mother box. Maybe they did the same thing in the other movie. I can't remember, but that in and of itself, I'm just gonna say right now, assuming that it wasn't that way in the theatrical, is that it helped Cyborg even have more significance by giving them this intel or this insight into the mother boxes so that they would come up with this idea. And I just thought it was a good scene, a conversation, and how they determined, let's do this. The scene where they're digging him up was different from the theatrical. I'm pretty sure it was just Flash and Cyborg in the theatrical, and there was more, it was more of like a good scene as far as them developing a bond, them two. So, typical Joss Whedon character moments, talking and having a little lighthearted conversation, which is good. But again, so it's not to crap on that, but taking them one on one, I think Zack's scene was better. It was more simple. He did have the comment about Wonder Woman. You think she'd go for a younger guy, and he tells him, "Man, she's 5,000 years old. Everybody's a younger guy." And then having a scene with Aquaman and Wonder Woman speaking to each other. See, that to me was better. I mean, it gave Aquaman more character moment, and it was just like based on the circumstances of this movie that they're being thrown together kind of quickly too. It's like those are the type of conversations you would expect them to have. It was nothing deep, but it was just kind of profound in less words what Wonder Woman and Aquaman were saying to each other. So stuff like that. So that's all leading to them putting Superman. And I still keep trying to wrap my head around how much sense does this make when it comes to Superman and Clark Kent. So they both were considered dead at the end of Batman vs Superman, and it's like I've gone over this in my mind not a whole lot of times because neither Batman vs Superman nor Justice League are that much of a priority for me. They're not movies I want to keep revisiting. Although, like I said, I've said in my other videos, Batman vs Superman, the director's cut, which I did buy, the extended edition, is much better than the theatrical. And here we have the same scenario again. But it still doesn't make it a great movie to me. It's a good one. It's a good movie, but as I've said, it was disappointing overall for what I had hoped. So that's a different thing. When something's disappointing based on your expectation, that's really you. That's not really you saying the movie's, it's not a critique of the movie. It's just a statement of your expectation. So, but yeah, I've been trying to figure this out. Well, I'm not gonna say I've really been trying, but it still puzzles me a little bit. They go to the grave site. The grave site is for Clark Kent, who was reported to be dead, because in this universe, people don't know they're the same person. So I get it. They had two. They even showed it was like two different funerals. So Superman got like a hero's, a warrior's, soldier's salute, tribute of a funeral. I guess I'm answering my own question. So they had a casket for Superman. I'm guessing that was empty. But then they put Clark in a grave because Clark had his own funeral. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Maybe somebody else could explain that. But to me, I don't think you can just gloss over that. Like, what the heck? Who's really where? Like, how is that being perceived by the world? I guess, like I said, I guess I'm answering my question. I guess people are supposed to not really know where Superman is buried, but Clark Kent is nobody would know who Clark Kent is anyway. But Clark Kent does have a grave site. Superman does not. I guess it's the way it goes. So they go and dig up Clark, which is still kind of morbid. It's kind of tripped out. That's a very morbid concept that they dug this dude up and he still got on his burial suit. I don't think they really showed that in the theatrical version. So here's another point about this one. You know, Zack was getting away with kind of some R-rated, still PG-13, but little edgier, little grittier um, activities in this movie. Way more f-bombs than Batman. I mean, we could talk about the oh shoot, I think there's a post-credit scene that I'm gonna have to pause this and watch this post-credit scene because I'm pretty sure it's a post-credit scene. And after watching this 4-hour thing extravaganza, this saga, I had to skip past the one of the credits. I just moved on and forgot that I should have kept watching to see a post-credit scene. So I'm actually about to pause this video, turn my crap on, and watch for this post-credit scene real quick and come back because it just made me think of this because the mid-credit scene or whatever you call it, the epilogue with Batman in that dream, he's talking to Joker, man. When he said, "I will fucking kill you," I'm just like, wow. Me and my lady were like, dang, tell us how you really feel, Batman. I enjoyed that though. It was freaking hilarious. Now again, let's not be like, you see, this is why DC is better than Marvel. See, this ain't for kids. This is that real shit. You know, I'm not that guy. I mean, whoop-de-woo. He said that word, and you know, he was badass in saying it. That's not why DC is better than Marvel, because it's not better than Marvel. You know, you don't have to have that to get your point across. Anyway, it was just cool. I enjoyed it. So yeah, let me pause this real quick and I'll be right back. Okay, so I paused it, but actually I haven't watched it yet, so I'm just gonna be doing it right now. I'm gonna pull it up while I'm continuing talking. Keep this thing moving. So Superman's little storyline through the movie was better executed. I'll say this here though too. This would be a good point to throw this in. Again, there to me is a lot of scenes that I said I was going to talk about this earlier, and I'll allude to it that Zack Snyder was full vision through. In doing that, there really is just a lot of scenes that ultimately, I get it. They do fit the story and they help tell the story, but they're not essential to the story. Like really case in point, that conversation between Martha and Lois, where it turns out Martha is actually Martian Manhunter. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, that scene, come on. Again, fan service, I guess. You know, and there was teases about Martian Manhunter's appearance in this movie. Let me just get that out of the way. Both of his appearances in this movie, this scene with him being Martha, and then the one where he shows up at Batman at the end. I mean, it's cool, but it's kind of weak. It feels rushed and thrown in. And if you're just like a Mark and you're just like, man, please, nigga, what's wrong with you? Or, you know, you're mad at me for saying that. I understand. That's okay. Because I didn't care. It didn't do that for me. Again, of course it's cool to see Martian Manhunter on screen. He was, I mean, again, this is based on action figures. He was one of my favorite action figures. And when I read up on who he was and what his powers were, and even when he did appear in cartoons. So he's a DC character I'm digging, and I love the idea of him being a part of this universe. Of course, what universe? I like the idea of the potential of him being on screen in a DC universe. Let's put it like that, because we don't know what the DC universe is, and this movie is not an indication of anything. I've been on Facebook today conversing, and the sad part is people are looking at this and because they're not deep diving into the movie industry. I almost said music. See, I'm into music, so sometimes I blur those. But yeah, deep diving. They don't deep dive into the movie industry to understand what's happening. They just watch the movies when they come out, and that's for both Marvel and DC. Where people just don't know necessarily what's supposed to be what in terms of connection and universes, because the MCU has us assuming everything is part of a connected universe when it comes out. Yeah, this is not any indication that DCEU is back on track or any of that stuff. Like this is a one-off in my from what I know, and I'm afraid it's probably going to stay that way. But who knows? Maybe the fan support will make them, or the critics and commercial success of it, whatever that is from a streaming standpoint, would encourage them to, if nothing else, make another movie for streaming. Maybe not 4 hours, but yeah, give them a chance to follow this up. Um, but anyway, so seeing Martian Manhunter come about is cool, but it's not. That didn't wow me at all. So that scene, Martha and Lois, could have been left out. And there's, like I said, there's quite a few others like that, uh, that are real, adding exposition and depth to the story and all that stuff. And I'm dead serious. It's like it's not. Some of it wasn't necessary, which is what would happen in a long movie like that. Um, that being said, Superman worked out better for me in this movie. Um, I had this feeling like he was going to be more, like there was going to be some point where he was going to be more of a villain towards them, longer than just that one fight scene. I had the impression that Zack Snyder had this more fleshed out or drawn out conflict between Superman and the rest of them. I was a little surprised to see that wasn't the case, but not in a negative way. I mean, it was still fine, but you just would have, the way people talked about it, as if like they just chopped Superman's story and he had so much more in store for him. I had that impression when they first started talking about his version versus the one that came out in theaters. When all in all, he just had a couple extra scenes, in the scene where he goes and visits Alfred. Yeah, that was pointless. You know what I mean? That it wasn't impressive. It was like just another chance to see him in that freaking black suit, which I guess he goes to see Alfred in the blue and red in the theatrical version. I don't know. Point is, he shows up in that final battle at the end, in a similar fashion. It was kind of funny. He steps in front of the axe and he's like not impressed. And it was like a Hulk Hogan, no cell, Undertaker, Goldberg, Road Warriors, whatever, no cell fest, where he's just like, yeah, nothing you doing that's gonna sell on me. I thought that was dope. It's kind of a mark out thing. That's what you're waiting for from Superman, is to just come in and be completely, uh, you know, completely, what's the word? Invincible, basically. Um, so the teamwork. Oh, let me just finish with Cyborg. So Cyborg, obviously, way more fleshed out character than it was in the. And I had heard about that. A lot of what they said was we would have had so much more, um, exposition and development on Cyborg and his motivations and his mindset and his attitude, why it was what it was in this version, in this Snyder's original, vision for it. And yes, and so I said that I was looking for more of that. And of course, I was looking for more of that because I had already read and heard over these years that that was one of the big differences. So it paid off. Um, yeah, it was cool what they did with him. For this to be an ensemble movie, I'm not going to overstate and act like it was just so much more depth for him, because it really still wasn't. They were still shortcutting some of his development. But I mean, this is a movie where you had to basically be introduced to everybody in one movie. Same with the Flash. Now, I said I thought Flash was pretty well done in the theatrical. So we got a few more scenes with him that, to me, I really liked. The way the scene played out with him saving, who I believe, I guess, is Iris from the car. Him visiting his dad, like to me, it was just better. Like I appreciated Flash even more this time around. He did seem, still a little quirky, but not as goofy as the Joss Whedon version. Um, so I think that there's a lot to be said as to why that was in the first place, based on these two guys' writing styles. What was really tripped out to me, though, that scene where Bruce first meets him in his little lair was pretty much scene, shot for shot, the same scene. Even with the little comment at the end where he says, "What the heck just happened?" The I must have pressed the wrong button. At the end of the scene, when he asks him what his superpower is, and he says, "I'm rich." I mean, that I'm surprised that was a the original Zack Snyder line and scene taken straight. But they were smart to leave that scene alone in the theatrical release. So there we go. Let me just segue that into. I thought the team camaraderie felt again better. It felt cheesy. Like looking back, I felt that way when I watched the theatrical release. I'm pretty sure I said that in my review video, which I gotta find. It's on another channel I used to do reviews with my daughter, and I'm gonna find that and put that on Soul of a Nerd channel. But yeah, I remember from what I can recall feeling like it was a little cheesy and it was trying to be Avengery. Of course, Joss Whedon, he's trying to bring that same dynamic and chemistry and all that, and it didn't quite work. Yeah, the scene where Aquaman's telling Wonder Woman that she's gorgeous and all this stuff because he's actually sitting on the lasso and he has this moment of truth. He's spilling his guts, and they're looking at him like, "Yeah, you're sitting on the truth lasso." That was okay, but again, compared to what they did in this movie, I don't even want that kind of scene. Not in this movie. See, this is the thing. If you make a Justice League 2 and now they are a team, then I could see the humor involved. That was just like, I don't know. It came across real corny in the theatrical release. So obviously that kind of stuff was not present. The conversations they had were business-like, and they were to the point, and it was about building a team and taking the moment seriously. And that came across way better in this version. Therefore, I just appreciated everything that spun off of that. You know what I mean? Meaning their fight scenes, their battles, their split ups in their strategy, and you know what I mean, going on their mission. Everything felt better because if you bought into more that these people were working together. In the other movie, it just was like I don't know, like I said, it was too hokey and convenient and trying to be something that it wasn't ready to be in the theatrical release. And it's amazing when you think about that. Like, it just proves you can't just throw that kind of stuff together. I think about like what's the movie Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, we were literally introduced to 4, 5, however many brand new characters in one movie thrown together on a mission, and the crap works phenomenally. But it's a different. I almost wanted to make a comparison because there is still some lacking in this Zack Snyder movie in that regard, which is more. I'm realizing a critique of Zack Snyder's ability to write and direct too, is that he's just not the best at character moments or character connection, making you connect with characters. For me, anyway. I'm literally realizing that. Batman versus Superman, and now this Justice League. Man of Steel is a little different. So I just wonder, does he have a weakness in terms of making characters resonate with people because he don't do the right kind of scenes, or if he writes dialogue or whatever, it's just something just ain't as sharp or poignant or if this is the thing, he can't do it in a short span, which again goes back to why he draws crap out so long. You see what I'm saying? Like, he's that person who can't articulate what he wants to say in less words, so he's got to be very verbose and long-winded. Listen to who's talking. If you watch my videos, I'm a long-winded person, but I think I credit myself on being able to say things pretty concisely as well. I just like to talk. So yeah. Versus what I see in a lot of Marvel movies, they're just able to do that in shorter spans. That's why this dude's movies be long. Because if I recall correctly, they had to shorten Batman versus Superman. In fact, I know for a fact they did. Well, that's why you had the director's cut. So you know what I mean? It's like he's not as good at getting his point across without having these long, drawn out scenes, and you know that's kind of problematic. But it is what it is. I guess it's one of those things where once you understand that's what you're gonna get, then that's what you're gonna get. I'll make a comparison to Quentin Tarantino. You know, he does things in his movies, and I'm a Quentin Tarantino fan. I don't. It doesn't bother me for whatever reason. I guess Zack Snyder, when he does some of these things, they bother me. But Quentin Tarantino, I just get his. This is his signature style, and it works for me. So I never have a complaint when he just goes to his wheelhouse of, you know, kind of standard tactics and techniques that he's using. So this movie, again, I'm gonna keep saying it was long, but the story is actually good. Like the more I think about it, and I haven't watched it again, because how you gonna watch a 4 hour movie too many times unless you just like again super geek, super loved it, and I didn't super love it. I will watch it again though. I would be interested to take this movie myself and edit some stuff out of it that I think was unnecessary. See if I can see if I could personally trim it down to a 3 hour movie. I would love to do that because there's probably a good hour that you could take out of this movie. In fact, I'm going to watch it again and I'm going to figure out what scenes. Oh, let me talk about this real quick. Good move on their part. How it was. I'm sure there's a lot to why it has this format to it, but it has the okay, I see this thing don't like me to press fast forward for too long. Doggone it. There's a lot of probably a lot of reason why they did this, but there are parts or chapters. And there was a point where they were saying the thing was going to be released like a series with 6 episodes, 1 hour episodes, something like that. I wish they would have done that, honestly, because as I was going along, because that's kind of how I managed to do it over 3 days. I remember I think I got to part 4, and I said, "Oh, you know what? I'm gonna stop right here." And then when I started part 4, and then it went to part 5, I was like, "Wow, you could actually see where they could have edited these with a beginning and an end, and they'd just look like episodes." They, to me, I almost want to say they should have done that. Heck, they might have been able to capitalize with the thing that Disney Plus keeps doing with their weekly episodes where people could be talking about this thing for the next several weeks instead of we're all going to talk about it this weekend and maybe next weekend and then nobody will be talking about it again. Look at what happened with WandaVision because it was week to week. So yeah, I think they could have benefited from doing that. But either way, the fact that it is broken down like that, so it still gives you the opportunity to do that. So I think that's still a great thing that they did. And because of that, I'm pretty sure I could find some ways in my mind to trim some stuff off of this. And definitely I could go back and watch certain chapters or parts that were my favorite. So very good move on their part to leave that kind of formatting. I don't know if you can skip ahead to those. You probably can, but they have the little markers along the timeline that you could. I'm sure you could at least, if nothing else, you can fast forward till you see the dot and then press play. But I'll have to fool around some more with that. So the thing plays out pretty well. The action scenes are good. Now here's what I will say. At times in this movie, it feels like they're trying too hard to be epic. And again, the only reason why I think I would say that is because realistically, objectively, this is, and I'll objectively also say maybe we are, or I am spoiled, or I'm doing too much of looking at this through the lens of what's already been established with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But it feels, again, it feels rushed. And I said, some of the stuff is rushed, like the Martian Manhunter, just inserting him just for GP. The DCEU as a whole, as I said in my preview video, the whole DC universe is a rush job from the fact that their second movie was Batman versus Superman instead of giving us a second Superman, you know. Um, and then their third movie was Wonder Woman, and then their fourth movie was Justice League. Like, are you kidding me? Fourth movie is Justice League. Anyway, um, so I think because of that, and again, it's one of these things where I think about it, and I'm like, I really can see what Zack Snyder was thinking and why he was doing it. He just felt like, look, we're not going to do these individual movies. The studio, I think, told him, can we get a Justice League put together? And he said, okay, I got an idea. We're going to put Batman and Superman in a movie together and introduce Wonder Woman in that movie, and introduce by way of small scenes Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg, I believe. So we're going to set it up in that movie. But I'm going to tell a Batman story because it's going to be a new Batman. And I'm going to expand a little bit upon Superman from my Man of Steel movie. I think that was the studio who wanted him to do that. I'm pretty sure he would have been fine making a second Superman movie, and maybe even a Batman movie. I don't know if he was. I don't think he was tapped to direct Wonder Woman and all these other people. Probably just Superman and Batman. Of course, I don't know. I don't know how well he is with depicting and producing Superman. To be honest, on screen. I mean, again, that's always been kind of the verdict is out on that. Even though I do really enjoy Man of Steel, pound for pound, Man of Steel is probably the best movie out of this current DC EU output. In fact, I would say definitely it is, with the first Wonder Woman being second, and then Batman vs Superman being third. Well, I guess now that this exists, but again, this is, it's like this is an alternate movie, so it's like it's kind of hard to judge it. Anyway, it's kind of hard to judge it in regards to that. But for what it is, yes, okay, it is better than Batman vs Superman. So I will say it's the third best. It's probably better than Wonder Woman, to be honest. I don't think it's better than Man of Steel, though. That being said, the moments where it just feels like they're being too epic, and again, it's because it's long, and scenes just be dragging, man. Like, it seems a little bit like he's taking himself too seriously. For example, like, he'll have a person walking so freaking slow to a point with silence, like, and you know what I'm saying? It's just like, why can't you just end this scene a little sooner than this? There are just quite a few scenes that are too long. Like, people are walking or talking or having a moment that is just too long, like trying to be deep, like we're just supposed to be sitting there feeling them, and it's like, I'm not feeling them. Okay, I get it. Can you move on? That is the first part that always comes across, that he tries to be too epic. And he does that in Batman vs. Superman. So again, this is one of these things where, like I said, part of this review is me getting kind of coming to grips on how I feel about Zack Snyder as a director or a storyteller or writer. And I've heard people say maybe he should direct movies but not write them. So maybe part of it is when he gets involved with the writing, although he has somebody else who did the screenplay for this. I'm forgetting his name, Chris Terrio or something like that. So I don't really know exactly when it comes to movies. Is that a screenplay writer or the writer, the script writer, who's more to blame or, more responsible for how drawn the heck out these scenes are, which I think is directors, because a director should be able to say, we can get this in this many minutes, instead of saying, let the scene keep going. Yeah, keep walking, walk longer, look stoic longer, stare into space longer. You know what I mean? Cut, bruh. So that being said, the other thing that feels too epic, and I definitely, I'm 100% convinced of this now. This dude in his, I kept saying this. I remember when I saw the theatrical version. This dude loves slow motion, and it is just annoying as heck. This dude, hold on. Sorry, y'all. Well, I'm not offering apologies. I had to go slow dance with my lady to some Eric Benet. Sometimes it's like that. Uh, so thanks for bearing with me here. I mean, how would you all know? I pressed pause, so no time lost here. So yes, Zack Snyder and his stinking slow motion. Again, it's I laugh at it, so it's not really malicious in the way I'm saying this. But dude, it's ridiculous. Like he's way overdoing it. I put it like this. Right now, I'm still giving him a pass because it could become eventually where it's going to turn me off from his movies. Because, like I said, I've already felt that way between watching Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, and then when I saw the Justice League, knowing that some of that movie was his work, and really, I guess the DC universe in general, because they even used a lot of slow mo in Wonder Woman. Maybe he was a producer on that. Maybe that was his idea. But the point is, like, if you're being honest, again, actually, don't. I'm not gonna say if you're being honest with yourself, because I'm beginning to realize, and they deserve it. The DC fandom, they deserve to have their bit of blind loyalty or mark or fanboy, fangirl moments where they just overlook stuff the same way they probably feel like MCU fans do. But to me, if you're being honest with yourself, this dude uses slow motion way too much. Like every freaking moment has to have a slow motion moment to show you how epic it is. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like his that's what is the detraction from his action scenes is to throw this moment of slow motion in the midst of a fight. The crap starts to take me out of it personally. One of the best examples is, and my lady called this one. Again, this is like a kind of a casual fan, so you might say, well, that's fine because they're a casual fan. They don't get cinematography, and they don't get, the epicness of Zack Snyder or the epicness of this moment for the Justice League and DC having this battle for the world's, saving the world. Those are valid, but I'm just saying, I'm more on her side with this. Wonder Woman does this thing, and I don't remember if it happened this way in the theatrical release, but all I know is I just saw it in this one, which means it's all 100% Zack Snyder. She jumps over Steppenwolf and does this little flip over him just so she can. I think she jumps over him to touch something or something, and then just land on the other side of him. It's just gratuitous slow mo. Like what? And my lady was like, "So they did all that slow motion just for her to like land on the other side?" Or I forget what she did. You know, and I could probably catch it right now because I haven't even got to that point yet. I don't think. No, I am past that. Never mind. So, oh well, because this is after that battle, and I'm not gonna rewind it just to see that. Y'all should know what I'm talking about. Was this that she grabbed his axe, or she touched his axe, or used her sword to swing down and clash with his axe? Hold on. But the point is, yeah, it was all just for something like that. I think that's what it was. She just jumped over him to do a clash of their weapons. And they did it in slow motion. Like, I don't know. Dude relies on it way too heavily. And it's just one of his big flaws. And so it's a big flaw for this movie, in my opinion. Other than that, like his visual tone, I used to say, I think, it's one of his strengths, but it's borderline. He sometimes does too much of a good thing. There we go. I always think about like Guillermo del Toro is one of my favorite visual guys when he did the Hellboy movies. Those are visually stunning. And then he did I watched Shape of Water. So, he's got a thing with his visuals that I think is dope. And I think Zack Snyder does too, but it's James Gunn does as well, from what I can see with his Guardians movies. But again, he does too much of a good thing, so it's just like he's having like a jerk off fest of his own stuff that he loves to do, basically. But again, a lot of directors do that. Christopher Nolan does it too. Spike Lee does it, with their visual tone, visual, you know, uh, uh, devices that they use. So yeah, that's really my big issue is the length of the movie and his over use of certain things, and just that his scenes be too long, too often. How about that? Um, the characters, like I said, I really enjoyed their camaraderie. The storyline is again plays out so much better. The use of Darkseid was dope. I actually, again, I thought we were going to get more of Darkseid, but then I have to remember that this was kind of like a thing where it was going to be he had a part two and like more movie, more movies or story extension of this in mind. So we didn't get that, but Darkseid was pretty beast in this movie. Didn't really care for his look as much as I thought I would, but it was, it was good. It wasn't dope, but it was good. I put it like that. You know what? And with that said, now that I've already gone over an hour, I think that's pretty much the way I would sum up this entire movie. Is that it was not dope, it was not epic, it was not great, but it was good. Definitely an improvement on the theatrical release, but it's almost like, how hard is that? Uh, but I don't want to. I don't want to even take that lightly because I want Zack credit. Zack credit. I want Zack Snyder to get his credit for the acknowledgement that this dude had a better movie planned for Justice League than what the studios ultimately put out. I mean, it's like, imagine if they would have said, "Hey, this dude had his tragedy in his family. Let's just let him grieve and let him come back and finish this, and let's put this thing out in 2018." Seriously, if this movie, I don't want to have hyperbole and just revisionist history or anything like that. Oh, speaking of, I'm interrupting myself. I'm passing by the scene where Lois is at her apartment and she's looking at her work badge before she decides to go out that one last time to go look at the monument site for Superman. There's a pregnancy test in that drawer. Like, what's up with that? I mean, I think that was supposed to be something we were supposed to catch and question. But again, probably it's going to play into Zack Snyder's further vision for this stuff that she may have been pregnant with Superman's baby or something. But yeah, I'm willing to say, now that I've seen this movie, that if this would have came out in 2018, what came out that year? That would have been the same year as Infinity War. I think they would have gave it a run for its money theatrically and even critically. Because if he would have been able to see this movie through like this, and again, maybe need to trim it down to about 3 hours, I really do. But like, instead, so it's almost like they could have had a movie with the Justice League that came out in 2017. It's almost like they were trying to match the first Avengers movie. Think about this movie with its scale could have actually been a leap over the first Avengers movie and could have been like going up against, so to speak, Infinity War. Not to say it's better than the first Avengers movie, because it's not, but in other words, the first Avengers movie to me is better than Infinity War. It's like neck and neck for me in the MCU. Whereas Justice League 2017 is just nowhere in the picture. You get it? My point is, this movie could compete with both of those, the first Avengers movie and Infinity War. It definitely, it's not better than Infinity War. Heck no. But it's in the same. Maybe it's not even the same league. It's a tier below it. How about that? So it is in the same league. So that's the way I feel about this movie overall. Is that it's just a good movie. It's not. I don't love it, but it's redemption. It's 100% redemption. And now there is a Justice League movie out here that's worth watching, that's worth rewatching, that's worth dissecting and digging into. like I said, I could do more talk, scene for scene, and things like that. But I would rather have dialogue with another person than to sit here and talk about this by myself. So now you have a movie that's worthy of that. The theatrical release does not inspire or validate, or you know it does not fit. It does not. Mm-mm, mm-mm. This one does. So I think that's a great testament in of itself. I honestly would really be interested in seeing a sequel to this. Again, not 4 hours. Get this crap down to like 2.5. If you want to keep making long movies, because that's the way you want to go, that's fine. Because I guess like all of the Lord of the Rings movies are long. There are film series that maybe they're just like when you come to see these, they're gonna be long. um, they did a lot more to actually set up expansions of these heroes into their solo movies in the whole DC universe, for like the way Flash was using the Speed Force and things like that. Because we already had a lot of that development with Atlantis in the theatrical movie. So they were this movie was actually, again, the tragic part of this is that Zack Snyder was doing a good job setting up a universe. He really actually was. It's just that his universe was going to be very moody and dark and like brooding and almost taking itself too seriously. Which again, that's fine. That's where it's like it's good to have a different tone. It's not like Marvel. It just isn't. But it's good. Like let's have variety out here, basically. And freaking Warner Brothers, cut him short. And realistically, I don't think his movies would have done if he was carrying out and leading the vision of the DCEU. I don't think it would have been it would be as successful as Marvel because of the things I'm saying. That's not everybody's cup of tea. But again, like I said, just accept what you have. Be cool with being second place, I guess is really what I'm saying. As long as you believe in your brand, you know? You'd be better off doing that than trying to chase number one and chase someone else's accolades and level of fan support. You know, it's really, I think, the moral of the story of this whole process of seeing this movie now, from my perspective, it's a cautionary tale of like what you need to of just how unfortunate the DCEU's path has been. Because now, who knows where they're at? I mean, they got a Shazam, they got a Wonder Woman, they got an Aquaman, and these movies don't even seem like they're connected to the same freaking universe anymore. They're rebooting a Batman series with the Batman, which I'm looking forward to seeing that. They got a Flash movie coming that supposedly is going to be able to set everything right, because it's going to almost like reset the universe. And then there's talk of Aquaman 2 coming. We already had the second Wonder Woman, which to me is, the more I think about it, it's so embarrassment. I mean, it's so disappointing. And then Black Adam literally supposed to be shooting now with The Rock playing Black Adam, which again, I don't see how that's going to tie into any of this stuff that's already happened. I don't even know if it's going to tie into the Shazam movie. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's supposed to. And then they do little one-offs like the Birds of Prey movie, which was complete garbage. Uh, yeah, I don't know what's in store for them. It's hard to say. And if they could have just stuck with this plan, see it out, and then reboot it. Now you just have a universe that halfway developed. You know what I'm saying? One that halfway developed. Oh no, okay, we didn't get to the. Never mind. But yeah, we have a universe that halfway developed and then basically got aborted or whatever you want to call it, or butchered and just dropped. And then you have loose connections to it floating on in other movies. It's just a messed up thing. And it's unfortunate. I don't see how they could really recover. Oh, I forgot about this. And then the latest news is they're rebooting Superman. To me, that's like the nail in the coffin. If y'all not gonna continue with a Henry Cavill Superman, like my interest in the DCEU is like really depleting because I think the dude got a raw deal, and we haven't even got a chance to see him be Superman. It's just freaking ridiculous to be the Superman that you would eventually see making multiple sequels. You know, think about that. Think about how ridiculous that is. But yet y'all keep rebooting Batman. I mean, Ben Affleck's getting a raw deal too because I loved him as Batman. This further cemented that this is the best Batman. Again, it's the same movie, so how much different was it going to be, in my opinion? But I guess because they did take out some of his lighthearted comments from the theatrical version, I just appreciated his character even more in Zack Snyder's version. Even though I've said in my preview video, I didn't have a problem with him in Justice League that came out in theaters like other people did. Didn't have a problem with it at all. But I do feel this one is better. So that's what keeps happening. Is like the improvements they made in this movie, I definitely feel like are improvements. And that makes the movie as a whole way better than, because there was so much terribleness in the theatrical release that there is no terribleness in this movie. There's just things, like I said, that are a little annoying in their critiques. So there you have it. I'd recommend anybody see it. Just find a way to pace yourself through it. Use the little parts, chapters, part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think. And then there's an epilogue. Use that as your guide, or just watch it, like it's 2 movies and watch 2.5 hours, or, an hour and 40 minutes and then watch an hour and 20 minutes, however you want to do it. Something like that. I could also even see that, how they could have split this into 2 movies. But I definitely see why he didn't want to. At the end of the day, he had this one story. It's just a long-ass story, and that's all there is to it. I give it a B. It's like a solid B, an 8 out of 10 score. So that's great. Again, I got to go back and see what I said about this movie, the other movie in 2017, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't an 8. It's probably like a 5 or a 6, which, that's a D. So the D and the B, they're only 2 grades up, but we all know from grades that's a significant difference, because one means, hey, you're close to an A. The other one means you're close to failing. So, hey. I'm looking at this right now when Aquaman's pointing at Flash after they have, they're unsuccessful in restraining Superman, and he just looks at him and Flash is like, I'm so sorry. So, again, it's like, hey, that's Zack Snyder. So you would have thought, for people like, Marvel's always trying to be funny. Like, come on, that's a Marvel attempt at humor, in my opinion. But again, it's fine. I'm not critiquing it. I just laugh at the people who will critique that stuff in a Marvel movie, but DC does some of it too. I mean, it's on, to me, you're supposed to have this. This is why I'll never really criticize any of that. Every one of you all suckers making these movies ought to be able to have some little quips and lighthearted moments. Period. For my taste, I don't want to see no movie just grit all the way through it. I mean, Christopher Nolan is like the one person who got away with that stuff. Period. And that's like, again, to me, those weren't even superhero movies. Those were crime dramas. The Christopher Nolan movies starring Batman, and I loved it in its own pocket way. But to me, now that you have a full-blown, like the MCU, as the X-Men movies got better again, when I watch a superhero movie, I want it to be fantasy, and I don't need it to be super reality-based and all this stuff. I just don't. That's Brother Phil, Soul of a Nerd. That's my word. That's my take, and that's what and I'm sticking to it. So there we go. That's it. Oh, I gotta get to this post credits. I'm sorry. If y'all will bear with me, I'll even press pause again, so y'all don't have to watch me forward through this. Okay. While I'm talking about this, as I was fast forwarding, another example of trying to be too epic with Zack Snyder in his religious undertones is when Superman, leaves the Bat Cave or wherever, Bruce's spot, and he goes and flies up in the air, and then he has this little moment where he spreads his arm. It's like this Christ-like pose. That's an example of little things to me like gratuitous. Again, they don't make the movie any worse, but they definitely don't make them any better. And for me, it's just like, dude, come on, man. I mean, it's like to try to create like mark out moments or moments in his movies. Again, compared to other franchises, not even just Marvel, even X-Men has done better jobs of having moments for us geeks to mark out at. That wasn't a good one for me. Also, though, to go back to Flash, I liked they kept having him be injured, and I liked the moment where the intensity of that scene where they're trying to get that mother box situation together, and Flash is running. He's getting close to like he can't keep that same speed, and so he needs Cyborg to hold on or do whatever it is, and then Superman shows up. That was dope because they were all trying to work together to get that, because they had to coordinate so many things together. It was intense. And when Flash is like vibrating himself to heal his skin, little things like that that were part of Zack Snyder's version. Those are some little things as a superhero that's fits a superhero. Those are things you want to see, like superhero-y moments, not flying up and doing this. That's not. And yeah, then they cut my man's head off at the end, Steppenwolf. That was pretty sick. quite a bit more, like I said, more violent, gritty, with the profanity and stuff like that. But like I said, overall, I enjoyed it. I'm almost at this post-credits thing, and the epilogue here. Come on, hurry up. Let's talk about the appearance of the Joker. I'm a person who liked Jared Leto's Joker from Suicide Squad. I mean, I can't stand that movie, honestly. Overall, I just think the movie it's not trash, but it's weak. There's the way I'll put it. I've never had a desire to watch that movie again. The fact that they're doing a reboot of that is, again, not impressive to me. Not interested in it at all. I mean, I'll probably watch it just to see what James Gunn does with it. And I know because it's James Gunn, it's going to have a certain quality just based on what he's able to do with 2 Guardians of the Galaxy movies. But I'm not anticipating or excited about it at all. What was I going to say, though? Yeah. Dang, what was I saying? Oh, the Joker. Yeah. So when that movie came out, the weirdest thing when I remember seeing people's responses is how people couldn't stand his Joker. And I was just like, shoot, man. He was one of the most interesting things about that movie to me. In fact, he was the most interesting thing in that movie besides, Will Smith's just an entertaining guy. So bringing him back for this, I thought was cool. I liked his dynamic. The fact that we probably won't get a Ben Affleck as Batman, Jared Leto as Joker movie, pitting the two of them together is tragic. Freaking tragic. Right up there with not getting a Superman with Henry Cavill full, his own proper solo sequel. Those are the 2 worst things that I think about every time I watch any movie like this now. And it's probably part of the reason why I avoid, well, besides the fact that it's weak and whack, is why I avoid watching the Justice League. And it's going to be hard to even watch this Justice League because it's a reminder of that. That being said, them getting that moment on screen was pretty dope to me. Lost potential with what they could have done with Jared Leto as Joker. I honestly can't understand or have I got nothing of an agreement with people's beef with the way he was depicted in that movie. Of course, I get it, meaning he wasn't what you traditionally know as the Joker. But again, when it comes to stuff like this, I'm not really locked into tradition. If you can slightly resemble what this character was from what I've known of him and then add and expand on it, that's what I prefer. And so that's what they did with him, in my opinion. So now I'm going past this, like I said, throwaway, unimpressive scene of Martian Manhunter visiting Bruce Wayne. And again, if this is Zack Snyder's type of dialogue and scene, unless the excuse is that he rushed it, it's corny as heck. Like he's just like, "Can I help you?" And he says something like, he tells him, I'm here to help you, blah blah. He's like, "Well, good to have you here." Like, what kind of terrible freaking dialogue is that? It's whack. I forgot to mention that. So that's like, come on now. It's like, what are you doing, Zach? You could do better than that. Now, again, if the excuse is that he had to rush that part, fine, but I hope that's the excuse. So let me fast forward this. I'm in the credits now. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Yeah, I totally forgot to try to... I don't know why I didn't think of this when I was watching this originally. Other than, like I said, it was 4 hours, so I was kind of ready to move on. But you had to know there was going to be a post-credit scene. Even though there's probably not a sequel for this coming, but I think that's what he did with the hopes. Because again, we're just basically looking at everything the guy made, regardless of if there's ever a future for it. So here we go. Come on. Oh, here we go. Here we go. No, maybe not. Got to be careful with this fast forward. Bear with me. Well, I'll use this time to say, like the video, leave a comment, please, share it, do that kind of stuff. Subscribe to my channel. And just as a preview, it's going to be next up for me to start doing weekly reviews of Falcon and Winter Soldier. Some other things that come up. Maybe there is no post credits. Man, there better be. I'm gonna be. Oh my gosh, there's no post credits. Okay, all right, people. Well, that's ridiculous. I guess when people mention post credits, they're referring to that indication that something does still go wrong with Superman, and Lois dies and he becomes their enemy, and everything just goes to hell as far as Apocalyptic and Batman and Mira and Cyborg and Aquaman. No, Aquaman's dead because Mira references that. It's like there's some shell of a Justice League team left, which is Batman. Was Wonder Woman? No, Wonder Woman was there. It was Batman, Cyborg, Mira, and freaking Deathstroke. So, which means Flash, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman die, which you kind of saw in the premonition that Bruce had, that something happened. So Darkseid must have actually gotten his way somehow with the anti-life equation, which was dope hearing that phrase. I do recall that from watching the cartoons and stuff like that. Again, not comic books, but the cartoons. So all of that mythology was cool to get captured in the movie, even if we never see it play out. So that's all. I'm giving it like I said, 8 out of 10, which is really good for a DC movie, and for a Zack Snyder movie. So he's kind of redeemed, or solidified himself in terms of having his 3 movies, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and his version of Justice League. Now, basically, he did a good job. That's the thing. Ultimately, now, and especially if you go off of the director's cut of Batman vs. Superman, he basically made 3 good DC movies. That's the crazy part of all of this. Like, dude ain't even involved anymore, but he basically made 3 good DC movies that were hampered and unfortunately sabotaged and jacked up by circumstances. Some being his life, things that were important that he had to deal with, and then others just the studio's stupid reactions to those situations or to the product he was making. It's unfortunate. So I've gone long enough for sure. Thanks for checking me out. Like I said, leave some comments, and I would love to at some point be back on here with a guest or someone to chit chat back and forth with about this movie even more in depth, especially if they have a different perspective. Maybe they're more of a DC super fan, or they're, comic book super fan, or whatever the case may be, or if they really can't stand this movie or have a lot of critiques of it. That would be cool too. All right, y'all. Once again, subscribe to the channel, click like, comment, share the video, and I just think it was a good moment for us as fans and for the movie superhero genre community as a whole. Peace.